Hey everybody, welcome to another Horizon Forbidden West game guide. In this guide, I'm going to show you the arena escape and how that arena escape can be used to duplicate items. There are multiple other videos uh, showing this, but it has gotten a little bit confusing because there's multiple arena escape techniques, and a lot of them no longer work because the game has patched them out. And so sometimes it can be a little bit confusing, like what works, what doesn't, under what circumstances, etc. So before doing this, just a short overview. The original arena escape involves doing infinite jumps. When you jump and then you aim, it creates a situation where you actually kind of stall in midair. You can jump again, and thereby using this over and over again, you can levitate out of anywhere you want. This was, I believe, first introduced accidentally, believe it or not. So this was not something that was available in the original game, but it was introduced accidentally with patch 1.18. So this was the initial technique used to escape the arena. Duplication is a byproduct of leaving the arena where you're not supposed to. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But that was the first way of escaping the arena, which was rather straightforward, believe it or not, at least on the PlayStation 5. And then it was subsequently patched out. And then once it was patched out, you could no longer just simply levitate out. And at that point, a person by the name of Aruga, O-R-U-G-A, either by himself or with the support of a community that he was involved with in terms of looking for bugs and glitches, he discovered another way to escape the arena by making a sequence of very, very specific jumps. We called this the parkour method. Okay, and this was way more complicated than using the infinite jump glitch, but with some practice, you could do it. And I have a pretty long and definitive Horizon Forbidden West video kind of showing you how to do it. And there's been multiple other ones that have also kind of really laboriously and carefully kind of detailed the exact path and sequence of jumps to get out. Ruga's original parkour method was very difficult, and we had actually refined it and improved it so that it was much more reproducible and more easily able to be accomplished. But unfortunately, with the application of the newest patch 1.026, the parkour method was also basically rendered ineffective. And so at that point, another escape was finally discovered. This one I call it the shield wing escape. And what that involves is actually jumping out of the arena from the starting platform. And then you have to basically wiggle through an invisible wall at the very top of the arena. And you had to use a shield wing jump in order to get up there. So that was the final arena escape that could work after the application of the latest patch. To be clear, according to certain insiders, Guerrilla Games never ever patched these arena escape strategies out on purpose, according to them, other than the infinite jump one, which was a game-breaking one, essentially, because that could be used anywhere in the game, not just the arena. But they had, basically worked on getting rid of other types of bugs, and in doing so and changing the code, they had basically inadvertently changed some of the geometry of the arena, thereby making escape routes like the parkour route, not workable. So the latest patch is 1.026, and this was also the last real patch of the game. It's been, I think, over 2 years since Horizon Forbidden West was released. Over a year since Burning Shores downloadable content was released, and the PC release has actually, was just made available a few months ago, and so I don't really believe that there will be any more patches. And so at this point, we had the so-called shielding escape, which was still viable. Now, that is, though, a little bit tricky. And, it has basically, it's a learning curve, to be able to consistently do it. And the most recent sort of evolution of the escape was by our old friend Aruga again. And he came with a technique where instead of having to do any type of parkour method, instead of trying to in essence get out of the arena by jumping out of it or leaving it through the top, he found this very elegant way of leaving the arena by simply warping through one of the gates. This is incredibly straightforward, very, very consistent, and makes escape of the arena the fastest and easiest it's ever been. And so I want to show that to you, as well as show sort of how you are going to duplicate, and how the duplication idea works for those of you who are interested in doing so. Okay, and again, there's a lot of videos out there doing this, but I'm putting together a series of Horizon Forbidden West game guides in the service of creating a so-called perfect file. And so I feel like, for those of you who are kind of using my videos to try to achieve that perfect file, it's just more convenient to see it all at the same channel rather than having to hunt for others. So with that preamble out of the way, let's proceed with the arena escape, and let's do it the Aruga style, okay, Aruga way. So first of all, we talk to Kala. We have to choose the correct arena, okay? So you have to choose an arena where there's huge ramps that go on either side. And you're going to use those ramps to basically get into an alcove that leads to the gate outside. The most popular one, and the one that he used, is Grim Prospects. And so I'm just going to use that for now. And I want to show you exactly how to get there. So what we're talking about are these huge ramps right here. And they're not in every arena challenge. They're only in certain ones. And you're aiming for this alcove right here. That's your ticket out of here. As you can see, with these ramps and then with these kind of platforms, it's quite possible to basically jump in here. Now, doing a shield wing jump, which is mashing the X and the square button at the same time, gives Aloy increased height and distance when she jumps. But I think I tried it out. I think it's possible to actually escape here without even using a shield wing jump, to tell you the truth. Okay. So what I do is I get a smoke bomb ready. The minute you jump now, you are going to be detected. So I like to jump and then just use a smoke bomb to sort of buy you some time. And then head toward that alcove. I usually jump over here, and then you can see that you can jump like this. And then I think even without a shield wing, you can just make it. I think you just make it. There you go. See, so you don't even have to use a shield wing glitch jump in order to get into this alcove. Now here you see the gate, but interestingly enough, there is actually a little, I don't know whether this is a glitch or just some sort of odd geometry that they never patched, but it's odd. You can just basically walk right through the gate around this little corner. So I don't know what that's about, but whatever. And so now we're here, and you just kind of keep jumping, and you can, jump and roll, get away from the invisible barriers here. So now this is the gate that we're going to use to get out of here. And as you can see, this is actually where Kala is. So you start off here. And how you're going to get out is you're going to have to basically warp through it. And right now, Aloy can't do that. So you have to somehow change her geometry to get her to do it. And what you do is you need to get on top of this log right here. And while you're on the log, you crouch and then you slip off the log. Now, the situation here is that you can't actually press the X button at all during this sequence. You can't jump. You have to basically run up, crouch, and then slide down. So let me demonstrate. And you want to actually go for a little bit right of midline. So if this is the middle right here, you want to go in this area here to do it. That seems to be the way to get it to work easiest. So you move away from the gate, you take a running start, and you just basically run up and get up there like this. So just keep pressing up on your joystick and immediately crouch. So I hope you caught all of that. You can obviously rewind and take a look. So what you do is You run up and you just keep pressing up on your left joystick. Don't jump, and eventually by pressing up, she'll just sort of climb up herself. The minute you climb up to this little log here, this little log step, immediately crouch. And if you move around a little bit, she'll just basically slide back down because the log is not a very stable place for her to stay, and she'll slide. Remember, don't press X at any time. And once you slide off, do not stand up. Now, if everything is done correctly, you should be able to slip into the gate through this area here. Okay, so of course, as I'm making the video, it doesn't work, which sucks, but that's okay. We'll just do it again. Press up, 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 and then crouch. You've fallen off, and then go in here and go through. So see, I did make it through, right? And then once you're through the log, you move until you're in the center, right behind Kala, and then you're supposed to slip right through. And that's it. Now, I don't know why it didn't work the first time I did it. Obviously, if it doesn't work, just stand up and try again. I guess my suspicion is probably it didn't work because I was just taking too long explaining it, and there might be some sort of time limit for how you do it, okay? So anyways, you are now officially out of the arena, all right? Now what you do is you can do a couple things. Now, one thing you can do to duplicate short term, like if you're only wanting to duplicate, let's just say 1 or 2 things, is you trade with the hunter, like so. And then you can basically sell like anything. You can sell weapons or outfits. Understand that weapons and outfits cannot be duplicated. But if you sell any coils and weave, if you sell tools, you can sell any of the resources. You can't sell strike pieces, but any of these guys, if you sell it to the merchant, what you do here is, so I guess I'll just show you. Let's just say we decide to sell, I don't know, like let's just sell the elite critical hits, right? So if you sell that, you'll see that it's under the buyback menu. Do you see that? Elite critical hits, and it's under the buyback list. And so what you do then is you immediately abandon the challenge. And then if you exit the arena, you'll find that even though you sold whatever you had in your inventory to the merchant, you'll see that it's been given back to you once you exit the arena. So that's kind of like the foundation of duplication, is that when you're in the arena, because of the rules of the arena and the way it's set up, any and all resources you use while in the arena is given back to you. So what the game does is the game makes a quote-unquote copy or a internal save of your inventory. And then it puts it aside. And then when you finish the arena, whatever you've used up, whatever you've gotten rid of, as you exit the arena, it will give that back to you, right? So therefore, if you can find a way of, quote unquote, getting rid of your resources, but saving them in a safe place, and so there's nothing left in your inventory, you've stashed it in another location, and then you leave the arena, or you end the arena challenge, and you go back to the real world, so to speak, the game gives all of that back to you, but because you've stashed it in a separate place, you don't have a copy, right? So in this case, what's happened is that we actually stashed it by selling it to the merchant. So as you can see, if you talk to the hunter again, and you go back to the buyback area, you can see that you have 10,000 elite critical hits. Now, of course, you can't buy it back from her because you already have 10,000 in your inventory, correct? Because again, that was given back to you. So what you do then is simple. You simply go to your stash and you move you move the elite critical hits to your stash, and now you've just basically gained 10,000 of them, and then you go back to her and you buy back that 10,000, and now look, here you go again, right? So that's how you can duplicate this way. Of course, there are limitations, because if you do that, you have to actually have the money. But I think it evens out, because you gain shards from selling it in the first place. You actually gain some shards, and then you basically use those shards to buy back. So in any case, I hope that's one way of getting duplicates, right? But it only works if you have a few things you want to duplicate, a few specific things. And the reason is because under the buyback, after 30 slots or 30 lines, that's the maximum. Any further, and you will basically override them. So you can only do 30 at a time, which is not particularly useful if you want to duplicate the hundreds of coils and weaves and resources, for instance, that are out there, right? This merchant technique is used to get certain coils and weaves from Dreaded Encounter and Apex Predators, which are loadout lock challenges. And that's how actually you get those coils for yourself. You leave the challenge, you go to the merchant. When you go into the sub menu, those coils and weaves will be automatically in your menu. You sell them to the hunter, you abandon the challenge, and then you buy them back, and that's how you get them, okay? This is an area of a lot of confusion among people who don't understand, which is that to get those coils and weaves, you have to use this technique and then abandon the challenge. You don't want to go to a stash or do anything else like that, because if you do, it will mess things up. And you have to actually abandon the challenge next to the merchant, and that's how you get out of that arena world, right? But if you want to just duplicate in general all of the other stuff, you don't want to do that. Okay? Or you can do that, but it's not as efficient. So I've just showed you how to do it by selling to her and then buying back from her. But now let's do the arena escape and duplication the way it's supposed to be done. So we'll go back to talk to Kala.
Welcome back.
Now, I showed you Grim Prospects the first time. So this time, let's go to another challenge, the Shimmering Menace. And so you can see that for the Shimmering Menace, it also has these ramps. You see that? Now the ramps are a little bit different. It's actually right here is the alcove. So, we're at a certain different location. You can see that here we're in the center. So the geometry is a little bit different. But we're still going to go aiming for that. Now, in order to get there, you do have to do a shield wing jump to be able to climb up. So these are the Apex Stalkers. And then we're going to just jump down. And then we're going to smoke them. And then while they're confused, we're going to run up. So you can see that over here, you can't really jump up, I don't think. Oh, well, there you go. You can. You just hop up and you're there. Okay, so in any case, it's the same gate, as you can see. Let's hop through here. And then we're going to run up, just like before. Up, up, up. Crouch. Now, see, I haven't fallen off. So what do? I move around. I just move around, and eventually I'll fall off. And then I should be able to go through the gate, just like that. And then we just wriggle right out. Okay, so we're out now. So I hope you caught that. All very straightforward, all very easy. And now, instead of talking to the merchant to sell stuff that we want to duplicate, we're actually going to look for a stash. Now, of course, it would be wonderful if there was a stash right here, and there is. It isn't there. We don't have either a workbench or a stash, because remember, this is a glitch, which means that we're not supposed to be out here. We're supposed to be in the arena doing our thing, right? And so certain things are available, other things are not. And in this sort of weird arena world, you can see that the timer is still going. So even though we're outside the arena, the game still thinks that we're technically in there attempting to beat Shimmering Menace. And so we don't have a stash and a workbench in the immediate mall area. So we gotta find a stash. Now, luckily, all the stashes, as far as I know, in the real world, in the overworld, is still available. We just have to go there. One of the challenges, however, is that where you're in the arena world, you can't preempt the map, which means number one, you can't fast travel, and number two, you're kind of on your own in terms of finding out where to go. So in this case, I'm going to call my mount now that I'm far away enough from them all. And once I'm in the mount, on my water wing or sun wing, we're going to go to the stash. But you can't just go anywhere. If you leave and you touch invisible barriers around the mall, you will not only fail the challenge, but it will warp you back into the menu system, which we don't want that, obviously, okay? Because at that point, you obviously haven't gotten your way to a stash yet. So if you follow me very carefully, you leave the mall, you're going to get to the river. Do not cross the river and fly across the river until you get to this bridge right here. Once you get to the bridge, now you can go across the water. You will fail the arena challenge, but you will not be warped back into the menu system. And because now you're in the world, the arena has failed, you can now fly literally anywhere you want. But I want you to carefully follow where I'm flying, because I'm going to fly you to the closest shelter with a stash, and we're going to go right there. You can see the shelter is right here. And we're going to jump off. And here we are. This is the shelter. And now we have a stash that we can use. So what's the trick? Well, so if you've been paying attention, it's quite evident what you need to do. What you need to do is you need to go to the inventory. So bear in mind, when you open your stash, your default is you're looking at the stash. You don't want that. You want to go to your inventory, right? So you then essentially highlight all of the things in your inventory that you want to duplicate. And what do? Well, you get rid of them. You empty out your inventory, and you're going to move all the contents of your inventory into the stash. So, like so. So now, obviously, under your inventory, all of that stuff is basically gone, right? You've emptied it. I'm not going to belabor the obvious and do it all for all of the items, because that just takes forever. But you get the idea. Go into inventory and then empty all the resources. That's a whole lot. And then empty all the tools if you want it. And you empty all your ammo. You empty all your coils and weaves, right? And everything you empty, you're going to put into the stash. And so obviously, as far as the stash is concerned, you've now increased the number of items, and they're all sitting in your stash. And then what you do is you go back to the arena. So here we're going to fly back. So follow me very carefully. It's very close. You just go back to the river, right here. You follow the river. You cross the bridge right here. And then you jump off the sun wing. Remember that you can't fly too close to buildings in the sun wing. You go back, and then you go back to Kala, okay? Remember, we're still in arena world. And just pretend that you've basically put everything you wanted to duplicate into the stash. At that point, you should have nothing in your inventory and a whole bunch of stuff in your stash, right, that you've essentially transferred. And now we go back to
Medals are given to the best.
Kala.
You looking for a challenge?
Talk to her.
Show us what you got, champion.
And this is critically important. You have to re-enter the exact same challenge that you were in when you left. And luckily for you, Kala automatically puts you there. So it's a simple matter of not being dumb and shifting things around and just simply pressing the X button to confirm. We were in Shimmering Menace. We have to go back to Shimmering Menace. So let's go back in there. And then at that point, you simply abandon the challenge. And that's how you get out of the arena. It will take you into the failed challenge screen. It may take a while, but it will do it eventually. So I can see you failed the arena challenge, this time for the second time, right? Because the first time you did it in the overworld, and now you're back into the menu system. You simply leave the menu system.
You have got.
So now we're back in the real world, right? The timer is off. And what you will see is that under your inventory, everything that you had put in the stash that you don't have has now been given back to you by the game as you exit the arena. And so all of these resources that are valuables to sell have all been quote unquote duplicated. Now you only duplicate what you put into the stash. So obviously in this case, if there's only 250 available, you just gain 250. But for other items like the Apex Sunwind Heart, for instance, if there was like say 999, you would make an extra 999. So in the beginning, when you're duplicating, it's an exponential growth, right? 1 becomes 2, then 2 becomes 4, becomes 8, becomes 16, until you max out at 999, at which point every cycle of duplication gets you an extra 999 of this item. If we're at a scenario where there's 10,000, for instance, like this Blighted Meat, or a Claw Strider Razor Tail, if it's a 10,000, then every cycle you get 10,000 extra. And as you can see under Coils and Weaves, you'll get 10,000. Under Ammo, you'll get 30 at a time or 36 at a time. So essentially everything that's in your inventory that you move to the stash while you're in the arena glitched state after escaping will then be given back to you in the inventory. That's how you duplicate. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is how you do the arena duplication method, and how you do it the fastest by escaping through the gate using Aruga's technique. I think beginning to end, it takes you literally about a minute to get out, get on the Sunwing, fly to the shelter. Now, I like this place right here. This is the shelter I took you to. And so from here, what you'll see is that I actually leave and then I get on my Sunwing, I fly all the way to this bridge. If you fly anywhere before that to cross the river, it will send you back into the menu system. You won't be able to get to the stash. So right over here, as you cross the bridge, you will fill the arena, but be allowed to stay in the world, which is very important. And then from here, I fly all the way here, I use the stash, and then I fly all the way back and go here. Now, a lot of people also use Lowlands Path, but getting to Lowlands Path is way more difficult because you have to actually go up, and then you have to go all the way back, and it's a lot harder to find this place, and you have to fly a lot further along. As you can clearly see, the shelter here is closer than Lowlands Path, and it's a lot easier to go back to the Mall of the Arena from the shelter versus Lowlands Path because the landmarks are much more easily memorized and remembered. You have a river, you have a bridge, it's right there. You go zipping right back here, okay? So my preference is to use the stash at this shelter versus the stash at Lowlands Path. That's basically it, okay? So hopefully this was somewhat useful. It's another summary of Arena Escape, Arena Duplication, how to properly do it, the idea behind it, the way it works. So hopefully, this will be useful to you as you use it to create the perfect file. Now, there are some people, of course, who don't like using glitches, and that's obviously fine. That's the way they like to play, and they're not going to use any of these duplication strategies. But for a true perfect game, it obviously makes things way more fast and way more efficient by using duplication to get infinite shards, to get infinite items, resource upgrades, coils, weaves. Those are all things that kind of streamline that process. But for those of you who don't use it, you don't have to. A so-called perfect game can still be achieved. You just have to have duplicates of all of the resources and items. You have to do it the hard way by just basically procuring them from the game, from the drops, from the machine sites, etc., from grinding through multiple new game pluses to your satisfaction. But everybody plays their own way. So once again, take care, and I hope this was useful to you. And until next time, do take care.